This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Ageten Moyed, Ageten Kvitel, the holy night of Hoshana Rabba. Well, usually we have this chus under the auspices of Chazaq and my good Yedid, Rabbi David, and his brother Yaakov and his father, to be together in Ohel Simcha. But tonight, because of the matzah, because of the circumstance and the pandemic, we're not able to be together. But I think this will be even more lahagdol Torah hadira, as it gives us the opportunity to unite with Chenu B'nai Yisrael, literally all over the United States of America, as well as all over the world. And may our learning tonight be a zechus for Klal Yisrael, that Be'ezus Hashem should send us very soon Yeshua and Besurais Toivos. And Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky was asked what we could do during this man to try to access Rachamei Shamayim, and the suggestion was that we should try to work on Avas Yisrael and friendship, Bein Adam L'Chaveroi, and a suggestion was offered that I would like to come. My support is not needed, but to lend my humble support, it's together Yehuda V'Oid L'Kra, that perhaps once a week one should call someone who looks up to them and connect with them, show friendship to them and love to them by asking them, would you share with me a Dvar Torah? Show them the importance and the kavod to ask them for their Torah thoughts, and perhaps this simple Kabbalah will be able to unite more Jews all over the world and unite for the sake of Torah, and it should be a small step toward bringing Klal Yisrael closer together. So, friends, it's the holy night of Hoshana Rabba, and we know that the man of the hour, so to speak, the personality most connected to Hoshana Rabba is Adonenu David HaMelech, as we say in the Oshpizin. B'matu minach David ushpizi Eloi. We plead from you, David, our celestial guest, the Yasvi imi v'imach, that sits with me and with you, all the other guests, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe, and Aaron, but the guest of the night is David HaMelech, and we would like to try to bring a connection, a special connection between David HaMelech and the holy night of Hoshana Rabbah. And Hashem led me b'derach ha'emes, Rebbeinu Shalom was mazmin to me. He led me to see an amazing comment of the Rekeach. After all, we know that the Kriyas HaTorah of all the days of Sukkot they're basically the same. We read about the 14 kvasim that are brought every day, and every day the parim diminish, but the terminology and the phraseology and the word and the verbiage are basically the same, with the exception of a few minor discrepancies. We know the Gemara in Tainus says that on the second day there's an extra mem, v'nis kehem, and on the sixth day there's an extra yud, unisacheha, and on the seventh day it says kamishpatam instead of kamishpat. However, the Roikeach, Rabbi Lezer of Garmaiza, he uncovers another amazing, unique quality of Hoshana Rabbah, and that is in the Kriya that we're going to read tomorrow. The pasuk umin chasam v'niskehem la parim lo elim v'lakvasim b'misparam. Instead of kimishpat, it says kimishpatam as mentioned. However, what's most interesting is the fact that this pasuk has 7 final mems in a row. Umin chasam v'niskehem la parim lo elim v'lakvasim b'misparam kimishpatam haloi davarhu. What a unique aspect of the pasuk, 7 final mems in a row. Says the Roikeach, this is a remez, this is a hint to the well-known custom that we encircle the bima 7 times on the 7th day on Hoshana Rabbah. This is represented by the 7 final mems. But yet, we know that Torah is so deep and there's endless wisdom in every detail of Torah. Shivim Panim LaTorah, by the way, a remes to Shivim Panim LaTorah is the fact that a sukkah is 7 tfachim wide and 10 tfachim tall. 7 times 10 is 70. The sukkah represents the Shivim Panim LaTorah. So let's try to delve into this idea that there are 7 final mems in a row read on Hoshana Rabbah. Rabbi, so we know one of the great importance, part of the great importance of Hoshana Rabbah is that we are judged on water. It's the grand finale of the judgment of water, and as the Torah tells us, the entire fate of mankind is dependent on water, and kol chaye adam tzuluyim b'mayim, and therefore we need to pray incessantly and fervently with great intensity for water, as our lives depend on water. But as we know, ein mayim ela Torah. Torah is our water. Why is Torah called mayim? Interesting. The word mayim begins with a open mem, and it concludes with a closed mem. You know what else begins with an open mem and ends in a closed mem? The Gemara, the Mishnayos. It begins me'ema saikar neshama ba'arvis. It begins with an open mem, and it ends with a closed mem. Hashem oiz amo yitain, Hashem yivarech esamoi v'ashalom. So the Mishnah begins with an open mem, and it concludes with a closed mem, just like mayim. Maybe that's why ein mayim ela Torah, because the Torah begins with an open mem, and it ends with a closed mem, like the word mayim. Now, the letter mem, the open mem, is somewhat of a dangerous letter, and let's explain. The Gemara says in Sukkah Daf Nun Beis, L'asad Lavai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring the Yetzer Hara, and He's going to shecht the Yetzer Hara. Now, what does that mean? Hashem's going to shecht the Yetzer Hara. How will Hashem shecht the Yetzer Hara? The Yetzer Hara is not a physical entity that he could be slaughtered. So the Toldos Yaakov Yosef brings from the Baal Shem Tov that the Baal Shem Tov has a really remarkable explanation of this statement of Chazal. What does it mean Hashem will shecht the Satan? The Satan's name is Samach Mem Aleph Lamed. We don't like to say it. Samach Mem Aleph Lamed. When the Gemara says that Hashem will shech the Satan, it means Hashem will remove the letter Mem from the name of the Yetzer Hara. Because the letter Mem stands for Misa. Mem stands for Misa. And when it will be Bila Hamaves Lanetzach, so the Yetzer Hara will be out of business. He will not be bringing Misa to the world anymore. And therefore the Mem will be taken out of his name. And therefore, instead of it being numerically valued at 131, it will be Samach Aleph Lamed, 91, like a sukkah. So Hashem will, so to speak, hamper the Yetzer Hara, will make him a handicap, who will remove his tool of Misa, which is the Mem, and he will no longer be Samach Mem Aleph Lamed, but instead he will be a Shem Kodesh. Actually, Samach Aleph Lamed is one of the 72 holy names of Hashem. But where else do we know that the open Mem represents Misa? Where do we find that the open Mem represents Misa? Well, friends, I want to share with you a Zayar HaKadosh and Parshas Pinchas on this holy night. I want to share with you with the powerful words of the Zayar and Parshas Pinchas. We know when Chava was persuaded by the Nachash to eat from the Eitz Hadas, it says, Vatikach mi piriyai vatoichal. She took from its fruits and she ate. It doesn't say Vatikach piriyai vatoichal, and she took the fruits and she ate, but it says Vatikach mi piriyai vatoichal. She took from the fruits and she ate. Says Uzziah, the letter Mem represents Misa. You know what? When Pinchas saw Zimri and Cosby and they were involved in that terrible heinous sin, the pasuk says, "Vayar Pinchas ben Elazar," and Pinchas ben Elazar saw. What did Pinchas see? You know how when the eye doctor says, "Be careful if you see floaters," you have to be very circumspect and careful. A floater is very dangerous. Well, the letter Mem, says the Zayar, represents Misa, because when Chava ate from the Eitz Hadas, she dislodged the Mem from Mi Periyai, and now we have a floating Mem, and a letter doesn't like to be by itself. A letter likes to have a shidduch, a zivug. So the Mem was looking for a zivug to join up with it. So you know what it joined up with? Because in that pasuk, there are a number of words that begin with the letters Vav Taf. Vatera, Vatikach, Vatoichal, Vatitein. So you have many words that begin with Vav Taf. So if a Mem sees a Vav Taf, that is a deadly combination. Mem Vav Taf is Maves. So when Chava ate from the Eitz Hadas, it dislodged the Mem from Mi Periyai, and now the open Mem connected to the Vav Taf, and Mem Vav Taf is Maves. So when Pinchas saw the act of Zimri and Cosby, he saw that this act was bringing Misa to the world. And he was afraid that, again, like when Adam ate from the Eitz Hadas, it would bring death to the world. So Pinchas saw a floater. He saw the floating mem. So you know what Pinchas did? Pinchas was nislabesh, but benishmas Yitzchak. Pinchas is gematria 208. And when it connects to mem, it becomes 248. Roimach vayar Pinchas ben Elazar. So Pinchas has to grab the mem before the Malach HaMavos grabs the mem, and he joins it to his name, Pinchas vayikach Roimach, and he turned Pinchas into a Roimach, 208 into 248. Because if that mem would ever join with a vav taf, it would bring misa to the world. So what we learn from the Zayar is that the way that the Nachash brought misa to the world is he took a floating mem. It's the floating mem that brought death to the world. And yet, I was troubled by the fact that elsewhere in the writings of the Arizal, we find that the Nachash brought death to the world in a different oifen, in a different way. Because the pasuk says when God came to the woman and he said to her, Ma zoi sasis, what did you do? So the woman said, HaNachash hishiani va'oichel. The snake seduced me and I ate. Now the word Hishiani is a very rare word. It's a word that we don't find anywhere else in Tanakh. It could have said Hanachash, Meshadel oisi, Mefate oisi, persuaded, seduced, Hishiani. The Zohar says that's right. Hishiani is a very mystical word. Because the word Hishiani is actually, and this Zohar is quoted by Rabbi Vadia Yosef. You see my picture right in the back, Rabbi Vadia, he's there together with Rav Moshe Feinstein, the two Amudei Psak Halacha together in Ba'achtos. And that's what this tonight is all about. Limud Torah, uniting Yidden from B'chol Makom Shehim. So the Rav Vadia Yosef in the Anaf Eitz Avos and Perkei Avos, Parak Beis, Mishnah Yotes, he says that when the Nachash caused Chava to eat from the Eitz Hadas, he was able to hijack two dalids. The dalid of Aleph Dalid Nun Yud, Aleph Dalid Yud Adoy, and then Noi became Ani, and Sha and then Dai, Shakai became Shai. When you remove Dalid from Aleph Dalid Nun Yud, and you remove Dalid from Shakai, you get the word Hishiani. The Nachash Hishiani'd me. He removed the two Dalids, the Dalid from Aleph Dalid Nun Yud, and the Dalid from Shakai. So Marv Rabbi say, how do we restore two Dalids? How do we bring back two Dalids? Well, the Yalkut Ruveni brings an amazing thing, but before I tell you that, says Rabbi Vadia Yosef, the Arizal says, the way to restore the two Dalids is the pasuk in Mishlei. Ashrei Adam Shoymei Ali. Fortunate is the person that listens to me. Lishkoid al dal soisai, to be diligent by my doors, my dalids. Dalid is not spelled dalid lamed dalid, it's spelled dalid lamed taf. Fortunate is someone who listens to me. To be diligent by my doors. Yoim yoim, to learn in the day. Go to the Beis Medrash in the day, that restores one dalid, the dalid of Aleph Dalid Nun Yud. Go to the Beis Medrash Balayla, that restores the dalid, the deles of Shakai, that became Shai. Learning Torah in the morning, learning Torah in the evening, in the Beis HaMedrash, by the doorways of the Beis HaMedrash, brings the dalid back to Adnus, brings the dalid back to Shakai, and is able to fix the two shemos that were nifgam through the act of the Nachash. Interestingly, the Yalkut Ruveni quotes that there's another way to bring back the two Dalids, and that is by saying Kriya Shema Shel Shachris, Kriya Shema Shel Arvis. The Dalid of Hashem Echad, the Dalid of Li'olam Va'ed of Baruch Shem. This is also another way to restore the two Dalids. But I would like to suggest these are not two disparate ways, but as the Gemara Nedarim tells us, that lechatchila one should learn v'higisa b'yom v'layla. Kriya Shema Shel Shachris, limud Torah b'yom, limud Torah b'layla. But if somebody is not able to learn Torah b'yom v'layla, a way to fix that, a way to correct that and be masakin that is l'chol hapachis. At the very least, one should learn in the morning. One should say Kriya Shema in the morning, Kriya Shema in the evening, and that is another way to fix the two missing dalids of Hishiani. So according to this teaching of the Arizal, the way the Nachash brought Misa to the world is by hijacking and co-opting and kidnapping two Daleds, the Dalet of Adnos, the Dalet of Shakai. In fact, Rav Shaul Brach, in his Sefer Dvar HaMelucha, in his commentary to Slichos, he says, these are the two doorways that we beg Hashem. Hashem, we say, Kedalim uchirashim dafaknu dilasecha, that's one doorway. Dilasecha dafaknu na teshivenu, that is a second doorway. And through these two doorways, which is the Beis Medrash Shel Shachris, Beis Medrash Shel Arvis, or Krishma Shel Shachris, Krishma Shel Arvis, we're able to fix and correct the two doorways, the two Daleds that were hijacked and taken as prisoner and kidnapped by the Nachash. So the Nachash apparently did two things. He took a floating mem and he hijacked two Daleds. So the question is, which one did he do? What brought Misa to the world? Did two Daleds did kidnapping two Daleds bring Misa to the world? Did his act of Hishiani, of taking the Dalet out of Adnos and Shakai, bring Misa to the world? Or did his mem, taking the mem of Miperioi and attaching it to the Vav Taf, did that bring Misa to the world? And here we come to Dvarim Nifla Mitarasenu HaKadoshah, wondrous teachings of our Torah. As we mentioned, the Torah Shabbat Peh begins with an open mem and it ends with a closed mem. You see, the open mem represents Chorben Misa. The closed mem represents Bila Maves Netzach, the sealing of all difficulty. Amazingly, there are two exceptions in Tanakh. One place we find a closed mem in the beginning of a word, and one place we find an open mem in the end of a word. In Yeshaya, Perek Tes, Pasuk Vav, Le'marbe ha'misra u'l'shalayim ein kates, when there will be an increase of sovereignty. That's referring to the coming of Mashiach. Al kisei David v'al mamlachtoi. There, the word misra, lemarbe, is spelled lamid, final mem, reish, beis, hey. Isn't that interesting? There's a final mem in the middle of the word. In Nehemiah, Parak Beis Pasuk Yud Gimel, where it talks about the destroyed walls of Yerushalayim, it says, Va'ehi shoiver b'choimos Yerushalayim asher heim prutzim. Heim is spelled hey, open mem. What do you mean? The mem is the last letter of the word. It should be spelled hey, final mem. Why is it spelled hey, open mem? And the Rabbeinu Bechai in the beginning of Vayechi tells us that the open mem refers to death, as we saw from the Baal Shem Tov. Mem represents Misa, Mi Perioi represents death. The closed mem represents sealing shut, death forever, Bila Maves Netzach. So one mem is a guarantor for the other. The open walls of Yerushalayim that are now in a state of Bechorbanai are spelled Hey, open mem, because they're in a state of devastation. But when Mashiach comes, it's going to be Lamarbe HaMisra, closed mem, representing Bila Maves Netzach. Now, as we mentioned, the floating mem was what Pinchas saw, and he had to take it and attach it to his name to create the Roimach. The open mem is what brought Misa to the world in the time of Adam Arishan, and it is our job, by learning Torah Shabbat Peh, to seal it closed into a closed mem. Now, we mentioned that the Nachash also hijacked two Daleds. So how do we reconcile the hijacking of the two Daleds with the co-opting of the mem of Miperio and attaching it to Vatikach Vatoicha? We could use an idea found in an amazing commentary to Masechta Idyois called Shushan Edus of Rabbi Binyamin Zev Baskowitz. And he says quite an incredible idea. He says that the closed mem, which represents Bila Maves Netzach, the manner to create a closed mem is by forming two Daleds and taking two Daleds and attaching the two Daleds together. Because a closed mem is a right side up Daled and an upside down Daled, and the two Daleds then sort of fit together and they produce a final mem. the two dalids of the two doorways. What are the two doorways that produce the closed mem? It is suggested by Rav Shalbrach. The two dalids are the learning in the Beis HaMedrash and B'Shachris, and the learning in the Beis HaMedrash Ba'arvis. Those bring the two dalids, and then they seal shut the two dalids, and when the two dalids are sealed shut, you get the final mem. So we could say a wondrous approach, that the Nachash didn't do two separate things. He didn't steal two dalids, and then also take a mem and attach it to mem vav, to vav taf, but there's a process over here. It's a two-step process. We start off with a sealed mem. In a sealed mem, in a world of a sealed mem, it's lamarbe hamisra l'shalom and kates. There's endless peace. But the Nachash came, and he took a sealed mem, and he chiseled it away. Now, when you open up the sealed mem, you get an open mem. The sealed mem becomes an open mem. And an open mem consists of two dalids. So what the Nachash did is he did two things. He opened up the sealed mem. The sealed mem then formed two dalids, and then the Nachash came and he shi'anid. He stole the two dalids. He created Aleph Dal Nun Yud, Aleph Nun Yud, Shin Daled Yud, Shin Yud. So by opening up the closed mem, he pried it open. He made the closed mem an open mem, and the open mem is two dalids, and then he stole the two dalids. And the way we seal, what we need to do is bring back the two dalids by learning Torah in the morning, by learning Torah in the evening, by going to the Beis HaMedrash and sitting by the doorway of the Beis HaMedrash in the morning, and sitting by the doorway of the Beis HaMedrash in the evening. And by doing that, we are able to bring back the two dalids that were hishianid by the Nachash. And once we bring back the two dalids, we got to figure out how to connect the two dalids. So basically what we need to do is we need to find two dalids, which we're going to do by learning Torah in the morning, learning Torah in the evening, and then we need to seal it shut with glue, with a chibur. So let's go on an expedition. Who has an extra two dalids, and who has glue to seal two dalids together? Now we know which letter in the Hebrew alphabet is a chibur, is mechaber oisiyos. The vav is a chibur. So who has in their name two dalids and a vav? Oyoim v'noira. Look at the word David. David is dalid with the vav in the middle. The vav in the middle takes the two dalids, and David is two dalids. You see my two dalids? Two dalids? We take the two dalids and we connect them together with a vav hachibur, and they're sealed shut forever. David is able to take an open mem. That's the open mem of Me'ema Sai Korin Shema Ba'arvis. We know the Torah Shabbat Peh begins with an open mem, but it ends with a sealed mem. Because by learning Torah, we're Bila Mavas Lanetzach. We take the mem of Mi Periyai that was freed up when the Nachash took the Dalid and he shi'anid. And once the Dalids are there, we have an open mem, and that open mem could join up with a vav and a taf. But David is able to take the two Dalids of his name and seal them shut and make a closed mem, which Hashem oiz la'amal yitain, Hashem yivarach es amay v'shalom. That is the sealed mem of the end of Shas. Because lamarbe hamisra, in the world of a sealed mem, it's u'lashalom ein kates. And this is the particular job of David, because we know David's role is bila mavas lanetzach. Because since David is the Gilgal of Adam, and Adam brought Misa to the world by eating from the Eitz Hadas, so it is David's job to go against Misa, to counteract Misa, to be Bila Maves Lanetzach, to seal death shut forever. And therefore David HaMelech is Chai V'Kayam, living and enduring forever and ever. By the way, that might be why there's a special inyan to shake the lulav on Hoshana Rabba. We untie the lulav, and the Rishonim say we shake the lulav with extra energy. The Iker Nanuim on Hoshana Rabba is the lulav, because the lulav represents David. Because the two Aravos are Moshe and Aaron. The three Hadassim, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. The Esrog is Yosef, is Bechar Sharei Hadarlai. But David HaMelech says, Kol atzmoisai tarmarna Hashem mikamoicha. I praise Hashem with all my bones, representing the Shidra, which is the Lulav. Lulav is Gematria Chayim, because David is the Lulav, and David Melech Yisrael Chay v'Kayim. Therefore, David HaMelech will bring Tchias HaMesim to the world. He will usher in endless peace, endless shalom. And David HaMelech, his name is uniquely suitable and suited to seal shut the mem. It's Dalid with a Vav HaChibur, and Dalid to seal shut the mem. And David was able to do this because David was the individual who we could say is Ashrei Adam Sharmei Ali Lishkoid Al Dal Soisa Yom Yom. David did not stop learning, not in the morning and not in the night. David HaMelech says, Ma'ahavti Torah Secha Kol Hayoim. Kol is l'Rabbis Halelos. David HaMelech learned Torah in the B'Yom and B'Layla. Mav Rabbi says Rabbi Eliyahu Gutmacher. Wondrous words. Says Rabbi Eliyahu Gutmacher that the word Adam, that Arizal teaches us, is Rashi Tevois, Adam, David, Mashiach. But the problem is, the mem of Adam is a final mem, and Mashiach is spelled with a regular mem. Says Rabbi Eliyahu Gutmacher, well, no, because since Mashiach will be brought in by Lemar Bei HaMisra, when the mem will be sealed shut, which will be accomplished by David, so therefore Mashiach is alluded to in Adam in a final mem, Lemar Bei HaMisra, U'Lashalom Ein Kates. Now, Marav Rabbi say, Hashem sent me a matana meruba. What a matana, what an incredible matana. Because, as we mentioned, the mem of Mipiriyai was able to join up with the words Vav Taf, Vatera, Vatikach, Vatoichal, Vatitein. Which are 5 words in one pasuk. In 4 words in one pasuk, Vatera, Vatikach, Vatoicha, Vatitein, and then the next pasuk, Vatipakachna. But Vashem Heir Einai, Hashem opened up my eyes, that if you look in the whole parsha of the Eitz Hadas, 7 times we have a Vav Taf word referring to Chava. Vatoimer Ha'isha. That we find in pasuk Beis. Then in pasuk Vav, Vatera. Then again Vatikach, Vatoicha, Vatitein. Pasuk Zayin, Vatipakachna. Pasuk Yud Gimel, Vatoimer. So that means there's 7 Vav Tafs. So the mem of Mipiriyai had the capacity and had the ability to join up with the Vav Taf 7 times. So that means we have to deal with 7 possible combinations of mem of Mipiriyai with Vav Taf. That means David HaMelech has a very big job to do. He's got to seal up the mem 7 times. Therefore, Hashem Heir Einai, on the 7th day of Sukkot, on Hoshana Rabba, who's the Ushpiz of Hoshana Rabba? David. When this is the final day of Melchemes Goigu Magog. Goigu Magog is Gematria 70. Keneged the 70 parim that were brought on Sukkot. David HaMelech, who's going to usher in Bilam Avos HaNetzach. David HaMelech, who's Chay v'Kayam. David HaMelech, who didn't sleep 60 Nishmin, because sleep is a 60th of death. David HaMelech is going to bring life to the world. That's why David is Keneged the Lulav Gematria Chayim. He's going to have to seal up the mem 7 times. The one for Vatoimer, one for Vatera, one for Vatipakachna, Vatikach, Vatoicha, Vatitein, Vatoimer. Therefore, on the holy day of Hoshana Rabbah, we're going to read tomorrow morning the pasuk, the only pasuk in Tanakh that has 7 final mems. Omen chasam v'niskehem laparim lo'ilim v'lakevasim b'misparam, and every other day it says kamishpat, so you only have 6 mems, so there's still a possibility of the mem of Mipiriyah joining up with a Vav Taf. But on Hoshana Rabbah, David is the hero. David is the man of the hour. David is the ushpiz of Hoshana Rabba, and therefore David comes kemishpatam, 7 final mems to seal the mem shut from me'emosai until shalom. It's lamarbe hamisro l'shalom ein kates. The Yetzer Hara wants us to remain with an open mem, me'emosai, but never get to the closed mem of shalom. So you know what rests between the me'emosai and shalom? The Yetzer. That's Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is open mem, ending with a closed mem. But in between is the Yetzer. And you know how you overcome the Yetzer? With Chachma. The letter Yud represents Chachma. Mayim. Open mem to close mem, you need the Yud, which is Chachma. Mayim. Ein Mayim Ela Torah. So on the holy day of Hoshana Rabbah, who the great guest on Hoshana Rabbah is none other than Adonenu David. David HaMelech, who represents Ashrei Adam Shemei Ali Lishkoid Al Dal Soisa Yom Yom. David HaMelech, who is Ma'ahavti Tarasecha K'Hayam Sichasi. His name is Dalid, Vav Dalid. He could join the 2 Dalids together, produce the final mem, seal death forever. Bila Mavas Lanetzach, and B'Zechusai we should be Zoicha, that on the final day of Mechemes Gog uMagog we should be Zoicha ben David, Yavai, V'Yigalenu, bring Yeshuas v'Nachamis, bring an end to this pandemic, bring Klal Yisrael back to Yerushalayim, Be'bias Goel Tzedek, Bebinyan Beis Hamikdash, and the restoration of the Malchus Beis David b'mher v'yameinu. Amen. Agitin kvitol chasima taiva.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.